Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today is gonna be a little bit of a different type of video. I know I've been MIA for a while now, and there's just been a lot going on in my life and in my community, and it's something that I feel like I should come on YouTube and talk about, because I realized that in going through what I was going through, I would come onto YouTube and I would search for videos, and there was kind of nothing relatable surrounding the topic, really. I mean, like, there's documentaries and, you know, videos like that, but nothing personal. So I just wanted to share my experience and shine a little light on a topic that is huge and growing right now. And if my little video can help one person, one family, then that's amazing, and that's what I want to do. I have no script here with me. I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. Don't mind the mess in the background or the way that this is set up. I'm just sitting on the floor. I just pulled my camera out and just decided to film this today. So basically, for the past year, maybe a little more than a year, my family has been dealing with drug addiction. Drug addiction is something that, you know, you hear about growing up. Well, at least me personally, like, I know that growing up I would hear about, you know, and don't be offended by anything that I say. I'm just literally talking like I would talk to a friend. But growing up, you know, you talk about, oh, this one's a crackhead, this one's a pothead, like, all these names, all this criticism, all this negative stigma surrounded by the image of drug addiction. And it's not until something so horrible, something so evil like this hits home for you to actually look at it from a different perspective. So I know that a lot of people watching this, you know, if you don't relate to the topic or you've never really seen it up close and personal, it may be a little harder to empathize. So about a year ago, I started to realize that my brother, I have 3 brothers, the one that's closest to me in age, they're all older, but my one brother, he's a little more than a year older than me, and probably my closest out of all of my brothers. I started to realize that he was acting really strange. And it's like, when something like that happens, like, you just know, like, you just kind of know. I mean, at the age that I am now, I'm 25, so this is when I was 23, 24, realizing this. But it's like, you know something's going on. Like, you know it's drugs, you know what it is. But it's so uncomfortable, and it's so far-fetched. Like, it's something that you just would never expect this person to do. So it's hard to confront it when you first see it. When you first see it, I mean, I feel like all drug addicts, they're in denial. They're not gonna, you know, just tell you they're high. Like, they're not gonna just come out and say it. So it's kind of like, where do you even start the conversation? How do you even approach this person? Like, what is it gonna take for you to be like, okay, definitely time to say something? And I guess in the beginning, that was kind of my battle, was just not knowing how to approach it. Like, I realized, you know, it started off pills. It started off Percocet, Xanax, like, you know, those type of pills. And it's like, when you see that, it's not as bad. Well, it is as bad, but when you see it in pill form, it's like, you know, people do that. Like, teenagers, young adults, like, people in my age group. Like, I know a lot of people who I went to school with, people who live around me, who, you know, it's a party drug. They pop a perk, they smoke a blunt, they pop a Xan, like, it's in the songs. So when you see a Percocet, it's just whatever. Like, I'm not doing it, everyone else does it, it's fine. That's kind of how you see it. And that's so bad. And I know that now. It's like, the Percocet is just where it starts. The Xanax is just where it starts. sooner or later that perk 10 is not going to be enough anymore. It's going to be a perk 15. It's going to be a perk 30. It's going to be heroin. So it started off as pills, and then it got to the point where there were just more signs of this is going too far. So it would be residue, like powder residue, you know, rolled up dollar bills, straws, things like that. And it's like, once you go from just taking a pill orally to now you're administering it as a powder, you're snorting it, you're doing all these other things. Now it's kind of like, when you see it from the outside, you're like, whoa, like, why do you feel like you need to go that extra step? I feel like that was when I first realized that there was an issue, like there was a bigger issue, and this was getting to a point where I didn't want to see it go. So at this point, me and my mom started having conversations. Me and my other brother started having conversations. We all knew that there was an obvious issue here. We all knew that there was something that had to be done. So after this, you know, I kind of still was uncomfortable confronting it myself as his younger sister, which is so stupid now, and I realize that it doesn't matter how old you are, who you are, how you're related to the person, anybody can say something. And you just have to have that in you, and you have to be the bigger person at the time, because that person who is dealing with this, they need to hear that. It doesn't matter who it's coming from. Any voice is going to make a difference. At the time, for me personally, I pushed it on to my brothers, my older brothers. I told them what I saw, told them they needed to do something, told them they needed to speak to him. And, you know, they did, but it still wasn't enough. So basically, time went on, and there's so many other events that took place in between that time period, but, you know, I'm not gonna dib and dab into every little instance, but eventually the whole entire situation just escalated. In the beginning, I saw the signs, I saw where it was going. It wasn't too crazy, a little weird, a little obvious, but now it was total catastrophe. So around the time that I first realized my brother was doing heroin, he was also using another drug. I'm not sure exactly what it was. It was some type of upper, but around the time that he started dipping into the injection type of drugs, he was just totally not here. I watched my brother go from someone so inspirational, someone so motivational. Like, there's no words that I can even say to describe the amount of ambition that my brother had. I mean, he could fix anything. He could fix any car, any quad, any bike, anything since he was a kid. So good. I mean, he would race cars. He worked multiple jobs. He was always on the move. He was so involved in the family, could make anybody laugh, can talk to any person. Like, just such a good person, such a good guy. And to watch somebody that you look up to so highly like that just deteriorate and fall apart in front of your face, it's probably one of the hardest things that you could ever see. So this entire time period, like, every time I would see him, it was just let down. Just, I didn't even know who he was. It got so bad that it would be to the point where I would see him out in public and I wouldn't even want to see him. I'd be with my friends, I'd be embarrassed. Like, every time I would run into him alone, I would tell him, like, you know, like, you really need to stop. Like, are you okay? What's going on? Talk to me. And it was just always avoidance. That's all I got. Yo, what are you talking about? Yo, I'm good. What? I'm good. What are you talking about? Da 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 da. Like, just always avoidance. And a lot of times with drug addicts, that's what it is. They don't want to admit to what they're doing. You know, they're ashamed themselves, or they're not ready to stop. And in order to admit it, like, they have to accept it, and they have to deal with the fact that now everyone's gonna want you to stop. Basically, I just watched my brother get really low. I watched him, you know, there were days where he'd come home and he'd be in his room just, you know, trying to sleep or not, because you can't really sleep sometimes, I know. And I would go into his room and I would literally tell him, like, you're ruining your life. You're ruining my life. You're ruining so many people's lives right now. And I would try and get deep into it, and I would try and really sit and talk to him and make him feel me. And I knew he would. He would cry. He would, you know, very emotional. He would know what he's doing isn't right and that he needs to stop. But I can see it. Like, he can't. He physically cannot. He needs help. And so to see that, and like, I don't know how to help you. Like, I can try. I try every time I see you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to my mom. I'm talking to my brothers. We're trying to figure out programs to put you into. He's been to so many rehabs, so many hospitals, so many programs. But it's like every time there's a way out. And that's a problem. That's a problem with the system. That's a problem with the way that this is being handled in our society right now. It's like, if you can go to a program and check yourself out, of course you're going to, especially as a drug addict. Like, it's just, it's impossible. It seems impossible. And so it just reached a point where I felt like there was nothing I could do anymore. Everyone keeps telling me, just talk to him, just talk to him. I'm talking to him. Every time I see him, I'm talking to him, but the conversations aren't enough. I started to feel like you need to want this for yourself. There's nothing I can say. There's nothing I can do. You're not going to get help until you want help. Basically, all I could do at that point was just watch and pray and talk. And so I did, and I watched him fall so far down. I watched him not show up for days. I watched him get kicked out of our house. I watched him be homeless. I watched him fight with my brothers. I watched him fight with my dad. I watched him walk. Like, I watched him lose his car. I watched him lose everything. Like, I watched him not care about his own self. I don't want to sit here and expose, you know. I just want to shine light on the fact that this is so down and dirty and real, that it can take a person so high and so good and just tear them all the way down until they're nothing. It's a horrible drug. Unfortunately, for him, it wasn't only him. Like, this is something that I see so many people around me falling into this drug, you know, depending on this drug. And it seems like every few weeks there's a new person dying. Every few weeks there's a new person who didn't make it. And there were so many days where I thought I was gonna lose my brother. There were so many days where I would just cry, like, because I felt like he was defeated. Like, I felt like it got so bad that there's no way he's gonna make it out of this. And, you know, I've seen him OD, I've seen his friends OD, I've seen all of these people who I've known growing up, and as soon as heroin gets a hand on them, it just tears them right apart. It just takes a person that you know and it turns them into a person that you totally don't know. So as I'm saying that I've seen my brother and his friends struggle with heroin, this past January, the end of January, my brother had a friend, a close friend. His name was Matthew Alstrahout, and he was involved in heroin just like my brother. At the end of January, Matthew passed away. He was 22. He was a year younger than me, and that was a crazy, crazy day. When I found that news out, as soon as I heard it, I heard Timmy passed away. Even though it wasn't Timmy, I felt like it was Timmy. I felt like it was my brother, because just as easy as it was Matt, it could have been Tim. And so for me, after that, I just remember like thinking, if this is not a fucking eye-opener, I don't know what is. If this is not gonna make a change, then what really is? Because just as easy as that was Matt, that could have been any one of you. And it's not over. There are still so many people that are struggling with heroin, so many people that are struggling with other drugs, and it's a constant battle. But just to kind of wrap things up, I also wanted to shine light on a movement that's taking place. Since the passing of Matthew Al-Shahout, a new movement has formed, and it's called the MattsMovement. I'm just gonna show you guys right here. This is Matt. This is the website. It's www.mattsmovement.com. And it just basically goes into depth about Matthew and his story and what the movement's purpose is. And the MattsMovement is a movement to raise awareness and to combat heroin addiction. It's a group. They have meetings every week for anyone who's dealing with addiction, anyone who knows someone dealing with addiction. They have guest speakers, recovering addicts, Narcan treatment. They're really making a move, and they're really doing something to help young kids and young adults and even older adults, just to help anybody who's dealing with addiction issues. And I know that they also have a Facebook page if you guys are interested. You can just look it up. It's MattsMovement, M-A-T-T-S movement. And you know, from this point on, I feel like it's just all about recovery and growing and learning and being better. And that's everything that the movement is about. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If I made anyone feel like they could relate or anything like that, that's just basically what I was trying to do. You guys can message me, DM me. If anyone wants to talk to me, I'm here with open arms. I always have time. So I love you guys. Thank you for watching my video. Kind of personal. I hope I don't get judged too harshly, but it's just something that I wanted to get out there. So thank you, and I'll see you guys in my next video.